Okay, friends, we are back. Thank you for coming with us on the journey as we explore my top 100 games. This segment right here, we will finish the bottom 50. Oh, it's gone so fast, and each game gets more awesome than the one before. And you know, we've been clustering these into different themes for ease of discussion. And this week, my numbers 60 to 51 are my highly interactive, social, dynamic games where it's more important to play the table than it is to play the game. And so I've dubbed these my I love the players, you love the game games. So, well, let's begin. We're going to try to rip through these a little faster than normal because I want to do like a scroll to recap what the bottom 50 of my top 100 have been. So that'll fill out the remainder of the time. So let's lay into it. My number 60 is one of the many awesome dice games that have come out in recent years. It's also one of many games that captures the grandeur and majesty of, quote, Sin City, unquote, and that is Las Vegas. Each player has 8 dice of a different color, which they take turns rolling. When you roll your dice, you can choose to place them on the relevant casino cards. For example, a die showing a 1 will be placed on the casino mat marked 1. You must place all dice of one number on one casino in your turn. All players take turns doing this until all the dice have been used. And then finally, the player with the most dice in each casino card takes the money associated with it. In the case of a tie, the next non-tied player takes the highest value money card at the casino. So winning may not mean that you win. There's strategy to it. There's take that. There's a sense of, oh, I might be able to help this person on this one. I don't want to be in competition with this person on that one. And these elements of interaction are fun, and they're not too complicated. It's easy to teach and it's easy to play. But what happens when you play Las Vegas stays where you play Las Vegas. But don't worry, because after you play it, you'll want to play it again and again and again. My number 60, Las Vegas. Now, number 59. There are games that you can play at parties, and there are games which are parties. And that's this one, Wits and Wagers. Wits and Wagers, which I'm sure all of you have played. It's the only trivia game that isn't terrible, because it's not just a trivia game, it's a social game. Indeed, when you play this, you can say, I love the players, and you love the game. So a question will come up, such as how many feet wide is an NFL football field? And you write your answer. And then you bet on anyone else's answers. So you can win by making educated guesses, by playing the odds, or by knowing the interests of your friends. It's one of those games where you can learn everything there is to know about it in a day, but it can still surprise you after 100 years. It's a great game for families and kids of all ages. Wits and Wagers. All right. Oh, these games just keep getting better and better. Now we come to number 58. It's a game for people who like pirates and dinosaurs, ninjas, and basically anything that is awesome, and that is Smash Up. You know the drill, you've all played it. You have these different factions of cards of anything under the sun, from aliens to zombies. You take 2 of these, you shuffle them together, and you fight against 1 to 3 other people for control of different bases. Whoever wins the base gets the points, and whoever gets the most points wins the game. It's endlessly replayable and limitlessly expandable. My favorite expansion is, of course, the Pretty expansion, which includes magical horses, princesses, fairies, and, of course, cats. Do you want to live in an age where you can see limitless videos of cats on the internet, but you can't play a game with adorable cats? Then you need to get Smashed Up. All right, my number 57. I mentioned this game before when I was talking about Mahjong. This game is the spiritual successor to Mahjong, and that is Tichu. The difference is where Mahjong is a literal game of ancient Chinese wisdom, Tichu is a fake game of ancient Chinese wisdom invented in 1991. Tichu is a 4-player partner trick-taking game similar to Bridge, where you seek to get rid of your cards the fastest. Whoever goes first decides what kind of card combination to lead the trick, and whoever manages to get the highest value wins it. You know, it's just a standard 52-card playing deck, but with 4 special cards added in. The dragon, the dog, the phoenix, and the bamboo stick. The bamboo stick, which is the Mahjong. Further complicating this is the fact that a set of 4 of any kind is a bomb that can trump anything. You really need to be savvy to what your teammate is doing, and you need to be even more attentive to what your opponents are doing. Which is probably why I am terrible at it. If we ever do a list of top games you like but are bad at, Tichu will be my number 1, but for now it's my number 55 on my top 100 of all. Now, if there is a mid-weight area control game I love, it is my number 56, and that is Revolution. It's highly interactive, and it lets you pit your friends against each other while you run off with the victory. Up to 6 people compete for dominance of a colonial-era town that is undergoing an eponymous revolution. The hallmark of the game is simultaneous hidden bidding, which is fun, tense, and cuts down on analysis paralysis because everyone is deciding where to bid at the same time. You have 3 resources you use to bid: blackmail, force, and gold. It's not a rock, paper, scissors dynamic because blackmail always beats gold and force always beats blackmail and gold. I strongly recommend the variant, which I know Sam Healy has mentioned before on the Dice Tower, that if you lose, you still keep the resources you bid with, because otherwise people can get behind, and then you have a real rich get richer dynamic. And what happens when the rich keep getting richer and richer and richer? Well, eventually you have a revolution. My number 56. Moving on to number 55 is my second party game on this list, Telestrations. It's a great matchup of Pictionary and Telephone, where you draw a word that you get and then pass it down the line, alternating between guessing what the word is and drawing it. It's a great party game night or great game night closer after a more contentious game. Now, you don't necessarily need the actual physical copy of the game for this since it's so simple, but the components are well made and they really do make the game flow well. So I would recommend you get my number 55, Telestrations. Alright, Telestrations might be the perfect game to play after my next one, which is Bonanza. If you want an interactive game that can result in tense negotiations, then this Uwe Rosenberg classic is for you, my friend. Yeah, you, Terry. I'm talking to you, Terry. Don't make Chaz play 5 Tribes every week. Try playing Bonanza once in a while. This game is almost 20 years old, and I hope you've played it before. If you haven't, PM me on Twitter and we'll find a time. In Bonanza, you are trying to get the most points by harvesting fields of beans of varying values. But here's the catch. The more copies of a certain type of bean there are in the game, the less valuable it is. So if you go for those red beans, man, you'll get a lot of points. But they might not come up. Certainly not as often as those coffee beans. Curse those coffee beans. Coffee beans are the citadels of Bonanza. Now, at the heart of the game is a negotiation where you try to get the cards you need for your field from your friends while getting rid of the ones you don't need. The thing I love about this game is you can't rearrange your hand. And if you're teaching this game to someone, keep that in mind and state it to them 3 or 4 times. You can't rearrange your hand because in most games, that's what you do immediately when you get dealt. I can't recommend it highly enough. I both love the players and I love this game, my number 54, Telestrations. Now, if my last game was not negotiations heavy enough for you, then this one absolutely is. Sheriff of Nottingham, where you are bluffing the sheriff to get your goods, both legal and illegal, through Sherwood Forest. You wouldn't think that a Robin Hood game without Robin Hood could be so good, but this is. The thing I like best about this game is the pouches you use to smuggle the goods aren't just cute components, they're an integral game mechanic. When you close the pouch shut, you've made a commitment. When the sheriff opens it, he or she has likewise made one. My favorite thing to do in this game is to play completely legally and, quote, get caught, unquote, by the sheriff, and they have to pay you. Unfortunately, that is a very difficult strategy to stick to because there are too many illegal goods for you to just play completely legit. Which, would you want to play a Robin Hood game where you weren't, getting your hands dirty a little bit? Come on. No, of course you wouldn't. There's no better game I can think of for interaction than Sheriff of Nottingham. Except for the next 2. Now, my number 52 is Winner's Circle. It is the best racing game I know. I talked about it last year in connection with the Kentucky Derby. Yeah, we'll show some footage. Yep, there's the footage from last year. The mechanic is fairly basic. Players publicly make bets, whose values are secret, on 4 of 7 horses, then race them with a simple roll and move mechanic. The hallmark of the game is a co-opetition where you work together or against other players based on which bets you share. Despite the fact that it was originally released in 2001, 15 years ago, Winner's Circle has aged remarkably well, and it is still one of the most popular games that hits the table at my game group. In fact, the only game more popular than Winner's Circle is my next one, my 51. Now, Winner's Circle, like most Knizia games, is really just a math problem. The horses all have attributes for different kinds of mathematically distinct speed. The horseshoe, which shows its swiftness of foot. The jockey helmet, which shows the skill of the rider. The horse head, which shows the horse's determination and will to win. And the saddle, which represents some 4th thing. My favorite horses are Old Rosebud, not Roseblood, Aslab, and Regret. But you'll never regret any time you play Winner's Circle. And if you ever see an opportunity to get this inexpensively, you need to grab that. You want to try to buy this on eBay or wherever, it's going to cost you $100. So if you see a copy for $30, oh, You will not consider that investment misspent, my friend. All right, now 51, closing out the bottom 50 of my top 100, closing out my list of I love the player, you love the game games, is XWing. This is a game of deep strategy and sweeping epic struggle. This is a game that you could dedicate an entire YouTube channel to. This is a game you could dedicate entire YouTube channels, plural, to. Capturing the spirit and feel of the Star Wars dogfights with majesty and grandeur is XWing, where teams of players scramble in dogfights across the stars for control of the galaxy. Not much I can say about this you don't already know. The game has a really high price point, but I've never spent a dime on it because I have so many friends who invested hundreds or thousands of dollars in this. I love the simultaneous turn selection with the dials. I love the risk of not knowing what your teammates are going to do. I love it when TIE swarms crash into each other. I love getting crits after you re-roll your targeting computer. I love the time you spent prepping your squad beforehand in anticipation of the galactic struggle and talking with your friends like, oh, I'm going to do this, are you going to do that? Well, maybe this ship will go well with that ship, or we add this modification along with that pilot, and then that R2 unit, and everything will be fantastic. And then you have one friend who really wants to use that lone wolf elite talent, not realizing how terrible it is, and that it actually makes the pilot worse when you try to use it. And I love it when your friend Darren thinks he's going to crush you with his TIE Punisher, and it gets destroyed in the second round. All these things I love in XWing, my number 51 game. Now, that's it for now. We'll roll my bottom 50 games for recap before we get into my top 50 next time. And remember, I love the players and you love the game. Thanks, and good night.